for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The last thing Ethan Hayes ever expected to do on the night of his 5th wedding anniversary was to pack 2 suitcases and leave his life behind. But there he was, 32 years old, sitting on the edge of a motel bed, still wearing the same navy button-down he'd ironed that morning, staring blankly at a wall where a TV buzzed with some home improvement show he couldn't care less about. The room smelled faintly of bleach and regret. He wasn't supposed to be here. Tonight was supposed to be perfect. Ethan had planned every detail. A candlelit dinner at home, her favorite creamy mushroom fettuccine with a touch of truffle oil, a bottle of red he'd hidden behind the cleaning supplies for over 3 months, and a small envelope tucked in his jacket pocket containing reservations to a secluded cabin in the Smokies. A weekend away from deadlines, away from city noise, away from everything. Just him and Ava, his wife, the woman he'd met sophomore year at Ohio State. The woman who once called him home. The woman who, 30 minutes into dinner, had set down her wine glass, looked him in the eye, and said the words that would unravel everything. I want to sleep with someone else. Just like that. There was no preamble, no hesitation, just her lips moving like it was the most normal thing in the world, as though she was asking to try a new recipe or repaint the kitchen cabinets. At first, Ethan laughed. He truly believed she was joking. Ava didn't flinch. She wasn't joking. I'm serious, she said, adjusting her silver necklace. We've only been with each other. I want to know what it's like. Just once. You want to cheat on me? For our anniversary? It's not cheating if I tell you first, she countered, smiling faintly. It's honesty. Radical honesty. Isn't that what we promised each other? Ethan sat there, dumbfounded, his fork slowly slipping from his hand. The steam from the pasta blurred his vision. His chest was tightening with every second. Who, he asked. A pause. His name's Connor. We work together. He's not just some guy. We've had chemistry. And just like that, something inside Ethan cracked. Something deep. Something sacred. 5 years of marriage, reduced to just one night. The weekend escape? Meaningless now. The wine? Soured on his tongue. Her lips, the ones he kissed every morning, now felt like they belonged to someone else. He left the table in silence. No screaming. No shattering plates. No drama. He just walked out. Ava called after him. He didn't answer. He wandered the neighborhood for over an hour, shivering in the early spring air, trying to suppress the rising storm inside him. Every corner of his memory replayed the past 5 years. Her laugh echoing in the kitchen, lazy Sundays on the couch, whispered promises in the dark. How could someone throw that away for just one night? When he returned, she was curled on the couch, her phone in her hand, a slight frown on her face like she was the one wounded. Did you think about it? She asked quietly. He didn't sit down. I did, Ethan said, voice low. And I can't do it. If that's what you want, if you need to sleep with someone else to feel alive again, then maybe we're already done. Her face twisted. You're overreacting. No, he said. You're underreacting. She blinked, as if genuinely surprised he hadn't folded. It's my body, Ethan. And it's my choice whether I want to share it with someone who thinks commitment's negotiable. Ava didn't cry that night. She sulked. She texted. She poured herself another glass of wine and muttered things under her breath. Ethan lay awake in the guest room, staring at the ceiling until sunrise. By dawn, he had made his decision. While she was in the shower, he quietly packed the essentials, just enough to get by. He left the envelope with the cabin reservation on their bed, along with a note that simply read, Happy anniversary. Take whoever you want. He closed the door softly behind him. The echo of it felt like an earthquake. Later that day, Ethan turned off his phone. When he finally checked it the next morning, he didn't find a single call or message from Ava. Instead, there were 36 missed calls from her older brother, Mitchell, a hot-headed real estate lawyer who always thought Ethan wasn't man enough for his sister. The voicemails weren't pleasant. You can't just vanish, Mitchell snapped. You want a war, Ethan? You'll get one. She told me everything. He'd barely been gone 24 hours. Ethan sat on the motel bed, rereading Ava's last text over and over. You're being ridiculous. Come home so we can talk like adults. The irony of her calling him immature wasn't lost on him. But this wasn't immaturity. It was clarity. Still, The nightmare had just begun. 3 days after Ethan left, Ava showed up unannounced in the lobby of his extended stay motel. She stood there in heels too high for decency, holding a travel mug like it was a prop in a courtroom drama. As soon as she saw him approach the front desk, she raised her voice, loud enough for the staff to hear. "You can't just ghost your wife, Ethan." Heads turned. "I'm not ghosting you," he replied coldly. "I'm separating from a woman who asked to sleep with another man as an anniversary present." Her lips twitched with faux shock. "You're twisting everything." Against his better judgment, he agreed to talk over coffee in the motel's attached restaurant. Not because he owed her anything, but because he wanted to see if there was even a sliver of decency left in her. There wasn't. Connor was just an example, Ava said, wrapping both hands around her cup. "I wasn't planning anything specific. It was just a conversation starter. You said his name. You've been talking to him. That wasn't random." She shrugged. "Maybe I'd fantasized a little. That's not a crime. I never slept with him. So far." Ava sighed and leaned forward. "Look, I've been seeing a therapist. She says it's healthy to explore suppressed desires. It's not cheating if it's consensual. But it wasn't consensual. You blindsided me after 5 years of fidelity." "You're being dramatic," she scoffed. "It's called ethical non-monogamy. You're acting like I committed murder." Ethan stared at her for a long beat. "You didn't commit murder. You committed betrayal. And now you're trying to justify it with therapy buzzwords." Tears welled in her eyes, but they were crocodile tears. Loud, performative sobs erupted, and the entire cafe turned to look. "You're so cold," she cried. "I'm still your wife." Ethan didn't flinch. He stood up slowly, sliding his chair back with a screech. "If you walk away now, don't ever come back," she shouted behind him, eyes red, voice quivering. He didn't turn around. That night, Ethan received a formal email from Mitchell, Ava's brother, laced with legal jargon, accusing him of emotional abandonment and demanding a settlement for emotional distress and therapy costs. They wanted 6 months' rent, counseling fees, and a written apology. He forwarded it to his own attorney, a no-nonsense divorce specialist named Hannah McGuire. "Classic manipulation," she said on the phone. "Don't respond. Document everything." Ethan started gathering evidence. That's when the real madness began. Ava began telling mutual friends that Ethan had snapped, left without warning, and left her alone with rent, bills, and a bleeding heart. She claimed Ethan had become controlling, cold, and emotionally abusive in recent months. None of it was true. Ethan still paid the joint account. He hadn't missed a payment. But facts didn't matter in a war of perception. Then came the message that stopped him cold. "Hey," texted Jenna, one of Ava's closest friends. "You and I should talk. It's about her. Urgent." They met at a coffee shop in Midtown. Jenna arrived with a heavy look in her eyes and a phone already unlocked. "She's been seeing Connor for 3 months, she said. She told me you two had an open marriage." I believed her. Ethan's face went pale. "She even showed me texts, supposedly from you, saying it was okay," Jenna added. But the tone was weird. Like robotic. Not like you. Ethan's throat tightened. Jenna lowered her voice. "When I asked her about it, she got defensive. Started saying you were unstable. But I've known you both for years. I knew something was off." She handed him the screenshots. Ava had fabricated messages. Faked an entire conversation thread. Worse still, she had already moved some of their furniture out of the apartment, claiming he abandoned me. Ethan raced over to the apartment to collect his belongings. Half the living room was empty. The hallway mirror gone. His bookshelves bare. As he took photos for his lawyer, the door creaked open. Connor stepped inside with a dolly. "Oh," he stammered. "Rachel said no one would be here." "It's Ethan," he snapped. "And this is still legally my home." Connor hesitated. "She told me you'd split. That you were fine with everything." "Do I look fine?" Connor backed out. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." Ethan didn't respond. He was already dialing Hannah. The next 48 hours felt like a scene out of a psychological thriller. Hannah filed for divorce on grounds of adultery. Jenna provided sworn affidavits and screenshots. Location data showed Ethan had never attended the fake conference Ava accused him of cheating at. A trail of evidence unfolded like a map to a hidden war. Ava's family called, suddenly full of compassion. "We had no idea," her father murmured. "We believed her." Her mother was in tears. "She told us you were distant, that you had an affair last year." Ethan froze. I've never cheated on her. She said she had proof. It's fake. All of it. There was a long silence. Then a crack. Her mother whispered, "You know she's done this before. She's always had commitment issues. We thought marriage would fix it." Ethan didn't know whether to laugh or scream. What hurt wasn't just the betrayal. It was how far Ava was willing to go, creating fake texts, spinning stories, weaponizing her image of victimhood, and dragging others in her drama. She didn't want freedom. She wanted destruction. And now, it was Ethan's turn to reclaim control. But he wouldn't scream. He wouldn't stoop. He would dismantle her lies with facts, with dignity, with quiet, strategic revenge. And that revenge, it was already in motion. Ethan knew that if he wanted peace, he had to fight for it. Not with fists, not with rage, but with precision. Hannah, his attorney, moved quickly. They submitted a full counteroffer to Mitchell's outrageous settlement demands. The response was a masterstroke of quiet war. A 50-50 asset split. No alimony. No false emotional damages. And a clause that required Ava to admit to her affair in writing. Mitchell balked. He threatened litigation. He made calls. He sent angry emails. But Ethan and Hannah didn't budge. Because now they had proof. And Ava, she was cracking. The next week, Ava showed up again. Not at the motel. Not at Ethan's job. But at his parents' house. She had the audacity to interrupt Sunday dinner. His mother opened the door to find Ava standing there in a beige cardigan and fake tears already in place. "I'm worried about him," she said to Ethan's father. "He's not well. He's pushing everyone away." Ethan's dad kept her the door. "You need to leave." But before she did, she handed them a letter. In it, she painted herself as the betrayed wife. Left without warning, emotionally abandoned, financially threatened. She claimed Ethan had a breakdown, that he was unstable, and that she feared for his safety. When Ethan arrived later that night, his mother was shaking. She said, "You cheated." "I didn't." She said, "You hit rock bottom." "I didn't." She said, "You needed help. I need her out of my life. That's all." Then he showed them everything. Texts, photos, Jenna's affidavit. It took 20 minutes to destroy the illusion Ava had crafted. When he was done, his dad muttered, "We didn't raise our son to be treated like this." His mom stared at the wall. "You were always too good for her." Meanwhile, Ava's social life began to collapse. The image of the wounded wife clashed with the Instagram stories she'd posted. Champagne clinks with Connor, late-night selfies with hashtags like hashtag no regrets and hashtag my time now. Mutual friends started backing away. Some messaged Ethan apologizing for believing her lies. But Ava didn't stop. She doubled down. She told her coworkers that Ethan had anger issues. She claimed he screamed at her, slammed doors, threatened to leave her homeless. All fabricated. Then one of her colleagues, Megan, who had once been friendly to both, reached out. "She's unraveling," Megan said. "She told HR you emotionally abused her. Said you destroyed her confidence. But everyone's confused because she's been showing off her new relationship with Connor like it's a badge of honor." That same night, Connor sent Ethan a message. "Hey man, I didn't know about all this. She said you were separated. I'm sorry." Ethan didn't reply. He didn't need to. Instead, he sent the message straight to Hannah. Another piece in the puzzle. Then came the bombshell that turned everything upside down. Mitchell made a fatal mistake. In a desperate attempt to push the narrative of Ethan being controlling, he sent an email to Ethan's boss, anonymously, detailing serious concerns about Ethan's mental health, his temper, and his treatment of women. But the boss wasn't an idiot. He recognized Mitchell's writing style immediately, and instead of believing it, he forwarded the email to HR and then to Ethan. "Just so you know what's going on," the subject line read. Ethan stared at the screen for a full minute. He wasn't angry. He was calm, controlled. He forwarded the message to Hannah. "Let's push the clause," she replied. "If they don't sign in 72 hours, we start subpoenaing Ava's phone records. All of them. We'll depose Connor. We'll bring in the falsified texts. If she wants scorched earth, we'll bring the fire." The next morning, Ethan received a call from Ava's parents. "She told us the truth," her father said. "She admitted the affair, admitted the texts were fake. She was spiraling." Her mom chimed in quietly. "We're sorry we ever doubted you, and we'd like to stay in your life. If you'll let us." Ethan was stunned. "I don't know what to say." "Just say you'll heal," her dad said, and never let her back in. 2 days later, Mitchell emailed Hannah. They accepted the counteroffer. Ava would keep the apartment. Ethan would keep his premarital investments, the car, and walk away debt-free. No alimony, no settlement for therapy, and, most importantly, Ava would sign an admission of extramarital involvement as part of the sealed record. When the documents were finally signed, Ethan received one last message from Ava. "Hope you're happy. You ruined my life just to save face." He didn't respond. She hadn't ruined his life. She'd freed it. But the final twist came not from Ethan, but from fate. 1 week later, word spread that Connor had broken things off. He wasn't looking for commitment. Didn't want to live with someone already so volatile. He moved out of state. Blocked Ava on everything. She went into a social media spiral. Cryptic stories. Passive-aggressive quotes. Long rants about toxic men and emotional betrayal. Ethan smiled as he scrolled past her latest story. Sometimes the universe removes people from your life for a reason. Hashtag healing, hashtag new chapter, hashtag leveling up. Leveling spelled wrong. The final poetic punctuation to her downfall. The ink had barely dried on the settlement when Ethan signed the lease to his new apartment. Nothing fancy, just a clean space, warm lighting, and quiet. He bought a second-hand couch, a coffee machine, and a set of dishes that didn't match. It wasn't much, but it was his. No lies in the air, no fake tears on the floor, just peace. He unpacked in silence, and that silence felt like a victory. For the first time in months, he slept through the night. At work, things had changed too. His boss, having seen through Mitchell's cowardly smear, gave Ethan more responsibility. "You've handled pressure like a pro," she said. Ava, on the other hand, was spiraling. Her posts became vague and bitter. Pictures with Connor vanished. Then came the post with a quote. "You don't lose good men. You release them." Followed by hashtag healing, hashtag reset, hashtag still hurting. People weren't buying it anymore. One of their mutual friends even commented, "Didn't you leave him to sleep with someone else?" The comment got over 50 likes before it was deleted. Jenna, Ava's ex-best friend, reached out again. She's losing friends by the day. Everyone knows now. About the lies. The texts. Everything. Ethan didn't reply. Not out of anger. Out of indifference. A few weeks later, he ran into someone he hadn't seen in years. Megan, an old classmate from his undergrad days, bumped into him at a bookstore. "You look better," she said. "I feel better." They grabbed coffee. Then dinner. They talked like old friends, but something was different. Soft, careful, honest. Ethan didn't rush it. He wasn't ready for love. Not yet. But connection. That he could do. Ava saw the photos eventually. Someone tagged Megan. 2 smiles. 1 caption. Starting again. Finally. Hours later, Ava posted a blurry sunset photo with a caption. "Karma doesn't miss." She was right. It had been 3 months since Ethan walked out that night. 3 months since he left a bottle of unopened wine and a reservation envelope on a bed that used to mean something. In that time, he had watched the storm burn itself out. And now, all that remained were ashes Ava had to sit in alone. What Ethan had learned in those months wasn't just about betrayal. It was about identity, about how far people would go to protect their illusions, and how healing isn't loud, it's consistent. It's in the routines you reclaim when no one is watching. He was still living in the same modest apartment, but it felt like a palace compared to what he'd left behind. Each morning, he'd brew fresh coffee, open the blinds wide, and breathe in silence. He signed up for a rock climbing gym. It felt symbolic, learning how to climb again, literally and figuratively. Some days he stumbled, slipped, got bruised, but he never stopped climbing. He had cut ties with most people who chose Ava's version of events, and they had started trickling back. Quiet apologies in his inbox. Some asked for lunch. He declined politely. They'd made their choices when it mattered. They didn't get to return when it was safe. Even Mitchell had gone silent, likely humiliated after his plan backfired. According to Ethan's lawyer, the admission Ava signed meant they couldn't open the case again without exposing their own misconduct. That silence. It was the sound of defeat. The day Ava's final social media meltdown happened, Ethan didn't even find out from her. A coworker brought it up at lunch. "Did you see Ava's story last night?" Total breakdown. Said people used her, ruined her, and she'll never trust again. Ethan just stirred his soup. "Haven't looked, But he checked later, in private. Of course he did. It was a long paragraph posted on a black background. I gave someone everything, and they abandoned me. I hope you're happy. You killed the part of me that loved. And then, hashtag never again, hashtag lessons learned, hashtag he was the villain. No names. No details. Just victimhood, still burning strong. He didn't feel satisfaction. Not quite. Not revenge, either. But peace. That, he felt. For the first time in years. 6 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. Ethan showed up in a gray jacket, pressed shirt, clean shaven. Ava showed up late, in oversized sunglasses and tension around her mouth. She barely looked at him. He didn't look at her at all. The judge signed the papers. It was done in under 15 minutes. On his way out of the courthouse, Ethan passed by Ava in the hall. She stopped him. No rage in her eyes this time. No tears. Just a tired whisper. Do you ever think we could have fixed it? He paused. Not because he wanted to, but because there was still a small echo of the man who had once loved her. No, he said gently. Because you weren't trying to fix anything. You were trying to test how far you could break it and still expect me to stay. Ava looked down. Ethan walked away. He didn't rush into anything new. He didn't announce his healing. He didn't throw himself into rebound romances or late-night bars. Instead, he kept building the life he wanted brick by brick. He started mentoring younger employees at work. He adopted a rescue dog, a stubborn pit mix named Rosie who adored him instantly. He started writing again, something he'd let go of during the marriage. His essays were quiet reflections on betrayal, recovery, and truth. One of them got published anonymously on a popular blog. It went viral. People messaged him. One line in particular resonated with thousands. Sometimes, leaving isn't weakness. It's strength disguised as stillness. Months later, Ava's name barely crossed his mind. Until one night, while walking Rosie through a local park, he passed by a cafe window and saw her sitting alone. She didn't see him. She looked older somehow. Worn. Eyes heavy. No glow. No presence. Just a woman pretending to be okay under bad lighting. She scrolled through her phone, smiled bitterly at something, and took a sip of coffee with both hands like she needed to hold herself together. Ethan kept walking. He didn't stop. Didn't wave. Didn't need to. Because that moment, that silent, unnoticed passing, was the most powerful revenge of all. She had spent months trying to twist the truth, destroy his name, and rewrite their story into something that made her the victim. But Ethan had walked through the fire and emerged unburned. She would always be trapped in the version of herself she created. He would keep climbing,